Hey boys and girls, so I decided that I'm going to start a chapter book with you guys, and I'll add a chapter every day for you. So since we're reading about the mysterious Pandora's box, I thought that what we could do is read an Encyclopedia Brown mystery story. So I'm going to read the first chapter for you. This book is written by Donald J. Sobel. It's called Encyclopedia Brown Gets His Man. All right. Chapter 1, The Case of the Marble Shooter. Now it happens that in America, some people break the law. Many get caught, but few get away. That is not true in Idaville. In Idaville, everyone who broke the law got caught. Aside from catching crooks, 1, 2, 3, Idaville was like any other American town its size. It had banks, movie theaters, and delis. It had rich families, poor families, and several miles of sunny beach. And it was a war on crime. And for its war on crime, Idaville had Encyclopedia Brown. Encyclopedia's father was Chief Brown, head of the Idaville police force. People from everywhere agreed that he was the smartest police officer in the land. Chief Brown never let out the reason for his success. If he did, who would believe him? Who would believe that the real brains behind Idaville's wonderful police record was its quiet 10-year-old son? For a year now, Chief Brown had been bringing home his hardest cases. Encyclopedia solved them while eating dinner in the Browns' red brick house on Rover Avenue. Since Encyclopedia had taken to matching wits with criminals, the word had raced through the underworld. Stay clear of Idaville. Idaville, big-time gunmen trembled at the mere mention of the town. Encyclopedia never told anyone about the help he gave his father. He didn't want to seem different than other fifth graders, but he could do nothing about his nickname. Only his parents and teachers called him by his right name, Leroy. Everyone else in Idaville called him Encyclopedia. An encyclopedia is a book or set of books filled with facts from A to Z. Encyclopedia Brown knew about the American Automobile Association, the Zanzibar Zipper Company, and everything in between. He had read more books than Miss Babcock, the principal of Idaville Elementary School. Encyclopedia did not solve mysteries just in the dining room. During the summer, he often solved them in the garage. He wanted to help children of the neighborhood. So he had opened his own detective business. Outside the garage each morning, he hung a sign. Brown Detective Agency, 13 Rover Avenue. Leroy Brown, President. No case too small, 25 cents a day plus expenses. One day, a boy walked into the garage. He dropped to one knee before Idaville's only private detective. Goodness, thought Encyclopedia, I haven't been that successful. The boy wasn't doing homage, however. He was aiming. With the snap of his thumb, he spun a quarter through the air and it landed on the gasoline can beside Encyclopedia. You've got a hot thumb, said Encyclopedia. You've got the hottest thumb I've ever seen. I want to hire you, said the boy. My name is Algernon Kehoe. Some big kid just made off with my Minnie and Moocher. Kidnap them? Exclaimed Encyclopedia. Didn't they shout for help? No, they clinked a little, said Algernon grumbly. Encyclopedia couldn't imagine why two girls should dress in anything that clinked, like the two knights or a pair of dice. It's months too early for Halloween, he thought. The case was a puzzler, all right. Describe the missing persons, please, he said. Minnie has 2 red stripes across the middle, said Algernon. Moocher has... Wait, they're not missing persons, they're missing marbles. Algernon explained Minnie and Moocher were his best shooters. He had been practicing marbles by himself when the big kid had come along and challenged him to a match. For fair or for keeps, said Encyclopedia. For keeps, said Algernon. He beat you? I beat him, he said. I won all his marbles. He got sore and took Minnie and Moocher and all my other marbles. You didn't try to stop him? Of course I tried, said Algernon. I said I'd tweak him, but a bunch of his friends appeared. They asked who I was, and the big kid said, "Who? I don't see anymore. I don't see anyone." But I noticed he closed his eyes just before he spoke. Said Encyclopedia. How was he dressed? He wore a sweatshirt with tigers written on it, like his friends. I knew it, exclaimed Encyclopedia. Bugs Meany. Bugs was the leader of the Tigers, a gang of tough older boys. When it came to upsetting the peace of the neighborhood, they were worse than noisy plumbing. Since opening his detective agency, Encyclopedia had often been hired to stop Bugs' dishonest doings. For several minutes, Encyclopedia was silent, thinking. Algernon stood by, working his thumb to develop muscle. Finally, Encyclopedia said, "Bugs will say he never saw you before. We must make him admit that he knows you." "He knows me," said Algernon. "He calls me Algernon, an old pal, when we started shooting marbles. After I licked him, he called me dirty thief and a lot of other names." "We better talk with Bugs," said Encyclopedia. "Let's go, Algernon." "Just call me Al if you don't mind. Algernon means with the mustache." The Tigers' clubhouse was an unused tool shed behind Mr. Sweeney's auto body shop. When Encyclopedia and Algernon arrived, Bugs was alone. He was playing checkers with himself and cheating. "Scram," he snarled when he saw Encyclopedia, "or I'll knock you so hard on the head you'll have to take off your shoes to watch television." "I ought to tweak him now that he's alone," whispered Al. "Take it easy," Encyclopedia whispered back. But Algernon began working with his thumb excitedly. Bugs Meany started. "What's with this kid?" he said. "Is he practicing to be a hitchhiker? His name is Al Keogh. And you stole Minnie a Moocher and many of his other marbles," said Encyclopedia. "Kindly return them." "I stole his marbles?" cried Bugs. He clapped himself smartly on the forehead. "Why, I never saw Jumpity Thumb here before in my life." Algernon's marble-shooting thumb was wiggling faster than ever. "I was a coward to let him rob me," he muttered. He started for Bugs. Encyclopedia pushed him back. "I'm going to tweak him, so help me," said Algernon. Just then, Duke Kelly and Spike Larson, two tigers, entered the clubhouse. They glared at Encyclopedia. Then they saw Algernon's thumb wiggling. "Who is he?" they asked. "Algernon Keogh," answered Bugs. "He says I stole his marbles." "I ought to tweak 'em all," Algernon growled under his breath. "Tweak, tweak, tweak." "That's what he's mumbling about," demanded Bugs. I beat you at marbles, and I beat you at tweak," said Algernon. "Tweak," said Bugs. "Tweak," repeated Algernon. "It's played like this." His right hand and his powerful thumb tucked under his forefinger shot out, and when his hand got under Bugs' lower lip, his thumb snapped free like a broken spring. "Tweak," said Algernon. "Boing, boing," went Bugs' lips. They bounced up and down like the tip of a diving board. While Bugs danced around, flapping his arms in pain, Spike and Duke made their fists. Encyclopedia held up his hands. "Don't make more troubles for yourselves," he warned. "Bug stole Algernon's marbles, all right." What made Encyclopedia so sure? So that was chapter 1 of Encyclopedia Brown Gets His Man. I will read you chapter 2 tomorrow, and we'll find out the answer to the mystery.